Good morning, everyone. I've got the wonderful opportunity this morning of actually being the first person to speak, and it's really lovely. My name's Uncle Ray Davison. I'm here today to welcome each and every one of you to country. I'm a Gadigal man, so on behalf of the traditional peoples of this land, I'd like to say to each and every one of you, welcome. It's really lovely, and I say this each and every opportunity I get to give welcome to country, and it's really lovely being here this morning as well. I've got to explain that my elder uncle Alan Madden was coming along today to give welcome to country, but at the last moment he couldn't come, so he's asked me to come along. And I say to people whenever I have opportunity to give welcome to country, it's really amazing that I have that opportunity to stand on traditional land and do what I do. And so coming along this morning when I didn't know I was actually coming till the last minute, till yesterday, it's really amazing. So to come giving welcome to country, is, once again, you all know that welcome to country has its origins right here on the east coast of Australia, and it goes back many, many thousands of years, and we've always had welcome to country when we have big celebrations and big corroborees. We celebrate by song and dance, and it's done today as I'm doing it orally. It's no less significant, holds the same importance. So this morning, this is a gathering, this is a corroboree, because welcome to country doesn't see Aboriginal or non-Aboriginal or our ethnicity, it just sees us as Australians. So regardless of whether we've been here for 10,000 years, 1 year, or a new child born today, if you're born on country, then you're part of country and you belong to country. And it's not just for each and every one of us our traditional history, but it's our tight colonial history. So coming up here today to this beautiful place with a very, very strange history, it's once again, it's really lovely. So wherever I go on my traditional land, I have a connection and feeling to it. So coming up here today, I've had the wonderful occasion now to be up here, I don't know, over the years, probably about 10 or 12 times now. And it's really each and every time I come up here, I get a feeling of being connected to the past. So I'm guessing that's my colonial history as well as my traditional history. So once again, to each and every one of you, and I'll explain that by saying to each and every one of you, each and every opportunity I get when giving welcome to country, I love reminding each and every one of us that we have one mother. We all have one mother, and that's Mother Earth. And Mother Earth knows each and every one of us, and she loves us all equally. It doesn't matter who we are, where we come from, we're all part of the same. We're all loved the same. So regardless, as I said a moment ago, whether we've been here for 10,000 years, 1 year, or a new child born today, if you're born on country, then you're part of country. You belong to country, because you know within Aboriginal culture, we don't own country, country owns us. And it's the same principle for each and every one of us. So I just remind people that most people I do have opportunity to give welcome to country to are their ancestral lines from overseas, and I just remind us, that's wonderful, it owns you, you own it, it'll always be part of you. But once again, if you're born on country, then you're part of country and you belong to country. So to each and every one of you, welcome to my country, welcome to your country, welcome to our country. Just in keeping with Aboriginal custom and protocol, I'd like to pay respect to elders and descendants both past and present of my people, the Gadigal people, the people of the Eora, and thank them for the caring of the waterways and the land for the thousands of years of which we all benefit from today, and extend that welcome and gratitude to each and every one of you and pay respects to your elders and descendants both past and present as well, for without those people, none of us would be here today. So my people, the Gadigal people, are one of 29 clans that make up the Eora Nation, and our clan land boundaries are the three rivers of Sydney, which we regard as sacred, and the three rivers are the wonderfully handsome, got this old black fella in me, the wonderfully handsome Hawkesbury River to the north with its wonderful coves and inlets, the beautiful Nepean River out to the west with its wonderful sandy shores and beautiful agricultural land, down to the south, the Georges River with its wonderful mangroves, animal life and bird life, and out to my left here, the ocean and waters beyond. Once again, within those boundaries are the 29 clans of the Eora Nation, and I'm here today on behalf of those traditional peoples to invite each and every one of you once again to my country, to your country, to our country, and thank you all very much. And please excuse me for running out because I had a prior engagement before being asked to come along this morning. And once again, whether I speak to one person or 100 people, each and every opportunity I get to give welcome to country, it's really special and unique to me, because I'm looking upon the faces looking at me as there has to be somebody hearing welcome to country for the first time, or maybe hearing me for the first time. So I like to make it special in those regards. So regardless of whether I give welcome to country once a year or 100 times a year, each and every time I do it, believe me, I take the greatest of enjoyment from it. So once again, to each and every one of you, welcome. May the spirits of my ancestors be brought beside each and every one of you and protect you whilst you are on Gadigal land, Eora country, as I know they walk beside and protect me. Thank you all very much and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and thank you Uncle Ray for this morning's welcome, and I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we gather, Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and thank you again Uncle Ray and also Uncle Alan, who works with us so much and supports the National Art School. My name is Stephen Alderton. I'm the Director and CEO of the National Art School, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to NAS, and particularly to this symposium, the Australian Object Material Culture in Context. The symposium reinforces the National Art School's core emphasis on object-led practices and histories, and reflects our commitment to engagement with the wider artistic and scholarly community beyond our walls. Recently, the New South Wales Arts Minister announced a 45-year lease and ongoing funding for the National Art School as a state significant organisation, so we can grow as a 21st century art school and deliver events like the one you're attending today. This symposium brings scholars, artists, curators and students into a unique interdisciplinary dialogue focused on the material culture of Australia, addressing the rich diversity of objects and the processes, knowledge and meaning embedded therein. I wanted to bring a context to the site you're on and talk about these walls and the meaning embedded within them. Before they built these walls in 1836, for thousands of years on the ridge between Woolloomooloo and Rushcutters Bay, this place was home to the Gadigal people. It was a meeting, gathering and living place, and sat beside a major thoroughfare where Oxford Street is today. These walls first saw women prisoners in 1841. The building contained 36 double cells of only 3 metres by 2.4 metres, designed to hold 6 women in each. You can see the walls where the cells were on the 3 floors. There was no water, no toilets, and you sleep on a thin straw mattress. There was little light during the day. You can see the small windows, and at night it was absolute darkness. By 1886, the number of prisoners between these walls had risen from 156 to 450. The women and men were moved to Long Bay Jail in 1909. The jail closed at this time, and in 1922, the multi-department East Sydney Technical College opened, with the art department of Sydney Technical College moving from Ultimo. This building then lay derelict for 40 years until the early 1950s. NAS sculpture student Raymond Rumba lived in one of these cells in 1952 for a whole year. Then in 1953, they removed all the cells and the floors. In 1955, the then director Bill Crisp took charge of the building and opened it as a theatre. Catherine Hepburn was in attendance with Sir Robert Helpman to launch the space. The theatre became an important melting pot of avant-garde theatre, music and dance and art in the 1960s and 1970s. The space welcomed a collective of writers, musicians, poets and comedians who devised and performed in sketches and reviews of the Cell Block Theatre in the 1960s. They became an integral part of Australia's cultural landscape, including John Bell, Jim Sharman, Lynette Curran, Marilyn Richardson, Graham Bond, Mungo McCallum, Patrick White and David Malouf. Mental as Anything performed on several occasions as a student band in the late 1970s, and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds performed in the early 1980s. And today, these walls witness the biggest regular crowd when our art history and theory lecturers present weekly lectures to a couple of hundred enthusiastic students. These walls have certainly seen a lot of change, from 100 years as a jail suppressing the human spirit to 100 years as an art school and contemporary theatre liberating the human spirit. In keeping with that spirit of collaboration and foresight, this symposium is presented by National Art School in partnership with the Power Institute. We're very proud of this relationship, and it's a great pleasure for me to see those two logos sitting side by side, even though they are very tiny, National Art School and the Power Institute. And I'd like to acknowledge the support and advocacy of Power Institute Director, Professor Mark Ledbury, without whom this event would not have happened. I would also like to acknowledge the amazing vision and commitment of our Art, History and Theory department here at National Art School, in particular Georgina Cole, Priya Vaughn and Molly Duggins, who have put so much care and consideration into the programming of this event from start to finish, alongside Michael Hill, the head of Art, History and Theory. So a big congratulations, team, on assembling such an esteemed list of speakers and a truly interesting and engaging program. I'd now like to welcome Professor Mark Ledbury to say a few words on behalf of Power Institute. Please make Mark welcome.
Good morning. Thank you very much to Uncle Ray. It's extremely humbling and daunting in some ways as a relatively new arrival, to understand how much it is that I have to be grateful for, but also how much it is that I have to learn to fully engage with the country on which I stand and I now live. And I think what will be coming up over the next couple of days will make that clearer. I also want to thank Stephen and Simon and Michael Hill and everybody else who's made all of this event possible. And of course, I just want to say especially how exciting it is looking at this program, looking at what many of our participants have thought through in such imaginative ways, such interesting combinations. Just check out the very first session, and I promise you I'm not going to stop you from listening to it by going on too long. But I do want to say that takes imagination, thought, and hard work. And I want particularly to thank, Georgina, Molly, and Priya for not only for the spark and for the early conversations we had years, in fact, more than a year ago, that brought this event into fruition, but for the astonishing way they've curated this program, brought unusual and thoughtful and interesting new combinations of speakers, events, and ideas together. It's going to be such a treat, and it's exactly what we all need to do. Not only the very idea, the partnership in which Power is collaborating with NAS, but also investing in our brilliant young minds, the people that are helping to put new ideas, new thoughts, new art, new combinations of that on the agenda. We need to do this again and again. We need to trust in the brilliant young generations that are coming through our art schools, our universities. We need to sort of hand over to them, basically. That's part of a general transfer of kind of the initiative that it seems in the last 20 years that the world cultures seem to want to refuse. How many old men, apologies to everyone out here, are currently running political and other lives here. How we have to change that, and one of the ways we have to change that is by what I would call generous, thoughtful mentoring of brilliant minds. And that, if we can keep doing that at the Power and elsewhere, I shall be an extremely happy person. And so, I'm delighted to be part of this in some small way, but I am most delighted to be an audience member and a listener as we hear unfolding. And I want to thank all the speakers, everyone who has wanted and so generously participated in this, everyone who's brought their ideas. I want to say thank you in advance, and now hand over to the fantastic team that really made it possible. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name is Molly Duggins. I'm a lecturer here in the Department of Art, History and Theory at the National Art School, and these are my colleagues, Priya, Vaughn, and Georgina Cole. We'd like to begin by thanking Uncle Ray for his very generous welcome to country, and of course, we would also like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation on whose land we meet, and pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and future. And also we would like to stand with them in solidarity and acknowledge that this land, it was never ceded. We would also like to say thank you to Stephen for his lovely welcome, and thanks to Mark at the Power for this wonderful opportunity to promote the National Art School as a space of intellectual exchange. And finally, we'd love to extend a special thank you to Simon Cooper, our head of studies here at the National Art School, for his support of the scholarly premise of this symposium and his generous dedication to its organization. Despite renewed interest in material culture, the conversation about objects often remains siloed in discrete disciplines of anthropology, archaeology, design history, and museology. Building on the material turn in art history, this symposium aims to explore the productive interdisciplinary methodologies for engaging with Australian objects. In particular, our approach aims to draw into conversation objects that have slipped through the cracks.
To prioritise the objects and to foster dialogue, we've invited a diverse array of scholars, curators and artists to present to you today new perspectives on the Australian object. But what exactly is the Australian object, I hear you ask? And this question lies at the very heart of this symposium. Obviously, the answer isn't simple. Objects are, by their very nature, multidimensional in their forms, uses and trajectories, to quote the pioneering scholar of material culture studies, Aaron Apajuri. The papers featured over the next 2 days pivot around a particular set of relationships, colonial and post-colonial encounters and engagements between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. Contemporary Australia was forged in the crucible of colonial encounter, and so we thought it important to prioritise objects embedded in this cross-cultural space. These histories are, of course, only part of a broader story, one constituted by rich multicultural diversity that is beyond the scope of our proceedings, but of course which nevertheless demands rigorous engagement. One of our aims in this symposium is to facilitate new scholarly dialogues about Australian objects through discussion and debate. So as the 2 days proceed, we invite you all to contribute in our discussion times.